And now to tonight's first big question. Every night at this time, we're going to dig into one of the top stories of the day and tackle the question at the heart of it. Tonight, it's all about Sonia Sotomayor and race. The judge was at the White House today working on the 10-page questionnaire she's going to have to submit to the Senate Judiciary Committee. We've got a question, probably not on that list. Does race determine your politics? And joining me now, we've got NPR contributor John Ridley, Republican strategist Karen Hanratty, CNN senior analyst Jeffrey Tubin with us tonight. He's, of course, the author of The Nine, Inside the Secret World of the Supreme Court, and syndicated columnist and journalism professor Miguel Perez with us as well. Welcome to everybody.
And welcome back.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Okay, so Jeff, let me start with you because you've got this piece that just came out, or that you wrote for The New Yorker, that says identity has always been a factor in choosing a judge. This is not a new thing, a debate that we just started having. Explain what you mean.
Well, if you look at the history of the Supreme Court, the big political issue of the day was always identified with the people in the who are on the court. For example, in the early days of the court, we were having regional fights in this country. So there were state representatives. You had a New York justice, a Virginia justice. Then religion became a big issue. So you had a Catholic seat and a Jewish seat. Now race and gender are bigger. So groups that are coming into their own politically, African Americans, Hispanics, women, are demanding their seat at the table. It's part of American politics. There's nothing unusual about it.
But don't you think this is different? I mean, the first Latino woman to be appointed, or you know, to hopefully be confirmed from the Obama administration's perspective?
I think it's different because it's a Latina woman, but I would agree with Jeffrey that this is just another example of change coming. It was the same thing with Thurgood Marshall, and in some ways with Clarence Thomas. And the question about race determining politics, I think you look at those two individuals, clearly race didn't determine their politics, but their narrative, their background, their story, and how they're arriving to these decisions was clearly determined by how they grew up and what they saw as young people in their developmental stages.
No one thinks the scrutiny is a little different for white men than it would be for a Latino woman?
Look, the Hispanic woman right now is getting tremendous scrutiny. There has been 106 white men in the Supreme Court. This is the first time that a Latina is about to change the course of history.
106 out of 110.
Right,
so
106
so
white men, 2 black men, 2 white women, and now a Latina. And all of a sudden everybody's all shook up over this? I mean, why? You know, obviously people are threatened by the fact that they're trying to look for some kind of evidence to show that she's going to rule in favor of Latinos, when in fact there have been cases that demonstrate that she has been terribly objective, in fact ruling against minorities in some issues. So, you know, I don't know why they're trying to build up this racist case against her.
Karen, explain why.
I take great exception that they're trying to build a racist case against her, and I don't think that you're seeing
several have flat out called her a racist.
Newt Gingrich has called her a racist. Look, Lindsey Graham is out there backing away from this. Look at all of the Republican members who are they're backing away from it because they don't believe that. I don't think this is as much about.
I mean, Newt Gingrich is a very prominent Republican.
Newt Gingrich doesn't get a
Rush
vote.
Limbaugh.
And he doesn't get a vote either, thank goodness, right? We haven't.
But where are the Republicans telling those guys to shut up? You know, this is the time when they have to step up and say, listen, this is totally uncalled for.
No, I think that there's 2 things going on. First of all, I think Republicans can engage in a fight with Rush Limbaugh and Newt Gingrich at a time when they ought to be debating, rightfully so, like we do with every Supreme Court nominee. What are the qualifications? How is she judged in the past? And that's a legitimate discussion. And it's also legitimate, I think, to have this discussion about some of the things she has said about, you know, as a Latina, wiser than a white man. These are interesting debates that we should have.
Yeah, I think we should have a debate.
Or Republicans could just completely go off the deep end and debate with Rush Limbaugh and Newt Gingrich, neither of which have a vote, neither of which are ever going to get an opportunity to appoint anyone.
And both of which are about to suit the Republican Party.
Can we just go back to that comment, though? Because this is what everyone
Latina comment, I know, is what everyone's focused on.
I understand some people have some consternation about that, but I think we can look at that comment and go, there's some truism there. I mean, the fact of the matter is that in the history of America, white men have made some very good decisions. However, there are a lot of instances they could have made better conclusions. And I don't think it's wrong.
But she makes a better conclusion by virtue of the fact that she's a Latino woman?
Well, she's talking about the experiences that she had. She said she would hope, not that she will, not that she is better, she would hope under certain circumstances she would arrive at better conclusions. And by the way, I would hope that a white male who had a more varied life would arrive at some better conclusions than a black man
Well,
who
virtually
had a narrow
every
life.
Supreme Court justice who testifies before the Judiciary Committee talks about how their background informs them. Clarence Thomas talked about growing up in Pinpoint, Georgia, and said, you know, he would look at sometimes at young black men accused of crime and think, there but for the grace of God go I. Samuel Alito talked about being the son of Italian immigrants, and that experience informed him. Now, it doesn't mean you come out the same way, but this is part of America. Everybody has their story. But ultimately, what matters is how you come out, not where you come from.
And we should be able to debate those things without being accused of racism. And I understand what Newt is saying, but look, those aren't all Republicans. That is not the majority of Republicans. And you make that
insinuating,
that
as
would mean
many
I'm a
Republicans
racist.
are, that somehow because she's only being picked because she's a Latina, and therefore she doesn't have the mental capacity to be on the Supreme Court. This is what they're implying. It's an insult to all of us.
I don't think that is what they're implying.
All right, we're going to end it there, guys. The panel will be back to talk about another subject in just a few minutes. But first, should former Bush officials be prosecuted for war crimes? That's a question to former President Jimmy Carter. We have an exclusive interview. Also, here where he disagrees with President Obama on a key policy decision. Plus, the big question, is Dick Cheney actually saving the Republican Party? It's our debate. Liz Cheney joins us live with Paul Begala for the Great Debate.